Sanibonani. So today we're going to learn about 10,000 isiZulu sentences. In the first part, we will just learn about 3,000 because we're going to stick to the present tense, and in the second part of the series, you will learn the rest. I would say language learning can generally be split into these two fundamental parts. The one is the sentences and the phrases that you just kind of hear enough with repetition that they kind of sink in as they are, and you remember them as sentences or as phrases, as chunks of language. And the other one is learning how to deal with the elements of the language, how to combine the elements to create your own sentences. Today we're going to be focusing on this. So to start with, we're going to look at these four phrases. Ukufunda incwadi, which means to read a book or to read a letter. Ukuphuza amanzi, to drink water. Ukudla isinkwa, to eat bread. And ukuya ekhaya, to go home. The first thing we do is we conjugate the first one of these phrases. We conjugate in the six persons: first person singular, second person singular, etc. So this gives us ngiya ekhaya, I am going home. Uya ekhaya, you are going home. Uya ekhaya, he or she is going home. Siya ekhaya, we are going home. Niya ekhaya, you guys are going home. And baya ekhaya, they are going home. If you do this to all four phrases, obviously you can already create more sentences now. Our next step is to simply adjust the phrases to be able to say them in four different moods. I call these moods. It's basically the positive as well as the negated version of that sentence, and then a question in the positive and a question in the negated version. So for instance, we would get ngifunda incwadi, I am reading a book. Angifundi incwadi, I am not reading a book. Notice the a and the e is how you negate the present tense in the first person. Ngifunda incwadi, am I reading a book? You might also hear the na for questions, doesn't have to be there. Ngifunda incwadi, am I reading a book? Angifundi incwadi, am I not reading a book? Notice this ye there is just the object marker for the incwadi. You don't have to use it, but you will often hear in sentences that include an object, you will often hear this object concord inside this original sentence. So angiyifundi, I don't read it, incwadi, the book, or angifundi incwadi, am I not reading the book? So some other examples would be abafundi incwadi, they are not reading a book. Siya ekhaya, are we going home? Niyasidla isinkwa, do you guys eat bread? Again, the si here is just referring to the isinkwa, the bread. You don't have to use it, but it will sound more natural with niyasidla isinkwa, do you guys eat bread? Angiyi ekhaya, I am not going home. Our next step is to add some sentences to our original four by just changing the objects. So we had ukufunda incwadi, but ukufunda also means to learn or to study. So if we said ukufunda isiZulu, that would be to study Zulu, or ukufunda isibhunu, to learn or study Afrikaans, ukufunda isingisi, to learn English. With ukuphuza, we can change amanzi to ubia, to drink a beer. Ukuphuza ikofi, to drink coffee, and ukuphuza itiye, to drink tea. When we use ukudla with inyama, it is to eat meat, or ukudla inhlanzi, to eat fish. And then instead of saying ukuya ekhaya, we can also say ukuya esikoleni, to go to school, ukuya emsebenzini, to go to work, ukuya edolopheni, to go to town, or if you're from the Durban area, it would be ukuya etaweni, and ukuya ezitolo, to go to the shops. This comes from isitolo, which came from store, the shop, the store. Isitolo, izitolo, ukuya ezitolo, to go to the shops. Now, for some more examples with the new sentences that we can now produce. Asifundi isibunu, sifunda isiZulu. We are not learning Afrikaans, we are learning Zulu. Angiphuzi ubia, ngiphuza amanzi. I'm not drinking beer, I'm drinking water. Baphuza ikofi, they are drinking coffee. Angidli inyama, I don't eat meat. Or you could say angiyidli inyama, I don't eat it, the meat. Baya esikoleni na, are they going to school? And now, a very important step in this process is to start adding what we call modal verbs. So to want to do something, to be able to do something, to have to do something. Our first one is with want, ukufuna. Sifuna ukufunda isiZulu. We want to learn isiZulu. We want to study isiZulu. Angifuni ukuya ekhaya. I don't want to go home. Ufuna ukudla isinkwa. Do you want to eat bread? Asifuni ukuphuza itiye. Sifuna ukuphuza ikofi. We don't want to drink tea, we want to drink coffee. Our next modal verb is ukukona, to be able to. So basically, it's important to note here that there are two ways of expressing I can. We have ukukona, we also have ukukwazi. And literally, ukukwazi is knowledge, so that would technically be reserved for knowing how to do things as opposed to being able to do things. So but there is a lot of interchangeability here. People tend to use both ukukona or ukukwazi, but we're going to stick to ukukona today. Don't get it mixed up with ngikona, sikona, as in we are here, we are present, we are well. This is really a verb. Ngiyakona, I can. Ngiyakona ukufunda isiZulu, I can learn isiZulu. Angikhoni ukuya emsebenzini, I can't go to work. Uyakhona ukuya esikoleni, can you go to school? Bayakhona ukudla inhlanzi, can they eat fish? And the last modal verb we're going to look at is you have to do something or you must do something. Now there are different ways of saying this in isiZulu. You can use the verb ukudinga, which is like to need. Ngidinga ukuya ekhaya, I need to go home. But a very common, maybe the most common way to express this is to use kufanele. It is necessary that. So you can say kufanele, you might also hear kufuneka, but we're going to just look at kufanele today. It has the same meaning. Kufanele, it is necessary, and then you need to use the verb in the subjunctive, which means you're going to use the personal pronoun like ngifunda. You're going to change the a to e. That gives it the subjunctive. So our examples are kufanele ngiphuze amanzi. It is necessary that I drink water. I need to drink water. I must drink water. Kufanele siye ekhaya. We need to go home. Akufanele nifunde isibunu. This is the negated form. It is not necessary that you learn Afrikaans. You don't need to learn Afrikaans. Akufanele baye emsebenzini na? Do they not need to go to work? So let's quickly sum this up. If we do the maths here, we started off with 4 sentences. These became 16 when we changed the objects. These 16 sentences we can times by 6 if we conjugate them for the 6 persons. This gives us 96 sentences. We can then multiply this by 4 for the 4 different moods. So positive statement, asking a question, saying it in the negative, or asking it as a negated question. This gives us 384 sentences. If we then add our 3 different modal verbs, I want to do this, I can do this, and I must do this, it gives us 4 possibilities without the modal verb and with one of the 3 modal verbs. So if we now multiply this by 4, we get 1,536 sentences. So by simply adding a modifier like namhlanje, today, I can say all of those sentences again in a new way. This gives us over 3,000 sentences. I hope you've learned something, and keep practicing building your own sentences. Be creative and just practice using the modals I can, I want to, and I must do this. Or I don't have to, I don't want to, and I can't. Good luck. Uyaphi? Ngiya ekhaya. Akufanele uye emsebenzini namhlanje? Cha, akufanele. Angiyi emsebenzini namhlanje. Mina ngiya esitolo. Ufuna ukuphuza ikofi nami? Ngifuna ukuphuza ikofi nawe, kodwa angikhoni. Kufanele ngiye ekhaya manje.